We are in a new series this month. We started it last week. It's called Self-Care God's Way. And so we've been talking about what it means to care for ourselves, what it means to do it, but do it God's way. So we explored a little bit of that last week, kind of understanding our limitations as human beings, knowing that we're finite, so that we're not infinite, we're not limitless like God is, and that we have to actually rely on Him a lot of times for who we are and what we need as resources and to do the things that God's called us to do. And we got to balance that out physically, we got to balance it out spiritually and emotionally. And we got to be willing to do that and know that God actually cares about all those things. And so this week I kind of wanted to touch on the topic obviously of self-care, but I kind of want to focus on something a little bit different in self-care, something that maybe we don't really think about. The irony of that, the word think, because I want to actually focus on what it means to have a thought life. So your thoughts and where you're at and what you think about, how you develop then, who you are, the things that no one else knows about but you. So I actually want to kind of touch on that and actually kind of explore what God has to say about some of that stuff. But before we go, hold on, thank you. I don't even have to do it because I watched him walk in. Praise, stand right there for a second, 2 seconds, freeze. Take your mask off for a real quick second. Okay? All right. Hi, Chadwick. How's it going? Wakanda forever. So, Praise will be dressing up as Black Panther for our carnival, not Hulk. It's Black Panther because he's the better-looking version of Chadwick. Rest in peace, Chadwick. But, that's okay. Hey, come on. Don't diss your husband like that. Don't diss your husband like that. All right? So, thank you for being willing to, represent. Okay? All right. So, going back to self-care. So, in our culture, they talk about self-care. They talk about what it means, and you got to take care of yourself, and you got to have your me time, and it's always about me. But that's very dangerous because really what happens is when you me-focus a lot, you forget about other people. So the illusion of self-care out there in the world, starts off really great, but somewhere in there it kind of gets a little wonky. Because you start to self-care only for you and completely forget about the people around you. You can even forget about your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your families, your friends, all of it, when you start to really just focus in on yourself. And so kind of what I want to do is kind of flip that idea of what self-care really means and understand that it's really an exclusive benefit for ourselves, but for others as well. When we do it God's way, it's not just for others and just me. It's really tied together. So what I do for myself really inherently benefits other people. And so understanding that our culture is so critical about what it means to care for self, but we really got to think about what our thought life actually looks like, because based on what you think and your mind and the way you think your thoughts impacts the kind of person you are. All right? So to illustrate this, I want to invite somebody. I want to invite somebody who's been here all week during camp, and I want to say this because my daughter, she's been telling, every time I come home, she's like, "Oh, Dad, the scientist." I'm like, "Who's the scientist?" "Oh, it's Rashawn's brother." I'm like, "Okay, what do you mean?" She's like, "Oh, the scientist, he taught me some cool experiments." And this and that. So I actually want to invite the scientist to come up and maybe do some experiments for us. All right, so give it up for the scientist. Okay, why don't you pull your card of tricks over to the middle over here? All right, so is that your name, the scientist? Randy the scientist. Okay, Randy. Really? Okay, Randy. All right, man. Respect. All right. How's your brother Rashawn doing?
He's all right.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about this for a second. So our thought lives can tend to be a lot like this. We got some milk right here, and our thought lives really tends to be more like ingredients for our lives, if you want to look at it that way. So we can pour some milk. Okay, we can put some good things into our lives. We can say like, "Man, I got to take care of myself. I got to respect my family. My family wants to spend some time with me. I'm going to do that. My friends want to hang out with me. I'm going to do that respectfully in a good way. I'm going to say good things." Okay, relax. We don't need to. Yo, that's my milk, Randy. Bro, I pay for this. Like, what are you doing? I got to put that for my cereal. No, not anymore. All right, so... and so what we can do is we can put one set of ingredients in, and we can kind of think of other things, and we can say like, I have to, respect, my time. So I hang out with my friends, but, I want to respect my friends, and I want to respect myself. And I want to think well of myself. I want to know that I am good, that I am cared for, that I am loved, and we can put all these really, really great things. And I don't know about y'all, but one of the great things about white milk is that I can put chocolate sauce into it and make chocolate milk. Because ain't nobody trying to, like, I don't know about you, but I cannot stand drinking straight up milk. It tastes like nothing. It tastes like absolute nothingness. Like, it just feels like I'm just swallowing nothing. So, but chocolate milk's delicious. Okay, did you just waste all my chocolate sauce too?
Nothing came out. Don't worry.
Bro, okay, can you stir it up? And that's kind of what our thought lives is. When we mix really healthy things, when we have healthy boundaries for ourselves, when we can respect people, and when we can think of ourselves, go ahead, mix that up for me. Mix that up for me real nice, Randy. Come on. Like you've been teaching all the kids, right? Yeah, there we go. We get some delicious, beautiful chocolate milk. And when we can respect ourselves, when we can speak highly of ourselves, when we have good things poured into our thought lives that we think about, well, all of a sudden, thank you, sir, we've got this beautiful thing that we can share with the world. Now, who would like to come up and drink this? Anybody?
It's chocolate milk.
It's chocolate milk. Come on. Ronan, come up here. Oh, isn't that your other brother?
Who?
Isn't that your other brother?
I don't know him.
So you have a brother named Rashawn and Ronan and Randy.
I have a twin brother.
You have a twin brother named Rashawn, but is this not your other brother?
No, I've never seen
Come up here, sir. Are you sure?
I've never seen him before.
Are you sure? Just stand right up here, sir. Stand right up here, right beside Randy. Are you sure this is not your brother?
Definitely
You're
not.
positive. Okay. All right. Well, go ahead and drink this for me. You don't have to drink. You can drink the whole thing if you want. Is it good? Delicious? Okay. Don't spill. All right. Good. Good. It's delicious. Healthy. You take that back with you. You want to keep it? You're gonna keep it. He's gonna keep it. All right. He's gonna keep it. Okay. He's not gonna keep it. But it was good, right? You keep drinking that if I let you? Okay. And that's the thing. When we have a thought life that is healthy, that's active, it's engaging, when we pour good things into ourselves, when we put the ingredients right, it's something that we can actually share with others. It attracts other people. But, on the other hand, sometimes we don't think well of ourselves. We have bad thoughts about us. Well, I'm no good. I'm not good enough for this. I can't do that. I'm too shy. I'm too awkward. I'm this. Or, well, that person, she's a hoe. He's this. He's that. Okay, relax. Yo, he's only in it for this, and my friends aren't like this and that. And we say all these things about other people. Okay? All right, there we go. Put it in. And we put all these ingredients into our life, into our thought life. Stir that up for me, sir. Oh, my goodness. All right. There's a little bit of, I hate God because God ain't in it for me. All right, let's put that in there. And we mix all these thoughts in our lives. Thank you, sir. And we want to share this now to other people. Anybody want to drink that? Xavier, you sure? Take a sip. I'll give you $5 if you take a sip. $5. Josh Gordat, come on. No $5 for you, sir. You're an adult. You make your own money. How was that? Okay. All right. I think everybody saw his expression. Everyone saw his expression. And the truth is, catch this. Catch this with me. The truth is, most of our lives are exactly that. When we're around people, when our thought life sucks, we send people chasing right out the door. Because when you speak negatively about yourself, when you talk poorly about other people don't want to be around you. You're kind of gross, you're kind of disgusting, and they leave you, they walk away. That's how toxic your thought life can be, and positive it can be. And it's something that we got to consider. When we put these things, these ingredients inside of us, the product that comes out, we don't even recognize what the product comes out until somebody else receives the product. Somebody else has to taste who we are. Somebody has to taste all the things that we put inside our lives. And it sent Josh Gordat out the door to the bathroom. That's how awful sometimes, hear me out. That's how awful sometimes our thought life can be. And we can chase people away from who we are. It's why the enemy loves to isolate you. Why the enemy loves to keep you back and secluded away from people. It's why you feel like your friends don't want to be around you sometimes, because you don't want to think highly of yourself. Now, I'm not necessarily speaking about you, but it's a mindset. It's a mindset that a lot of people have. And the first thing is we got to remove toxic thinking from our lives and minds if we want to really care about ourselves. I'm sure many of you walked in here tonight with some toxic thoughts about yourself, about other people. Oh, what's wrong with that person? Why is she giving me cut eye? Why is he wearing that? I can't believe he's talking to her. Oh, I don't know if I can be here tonight. My friends aren't here tonight, so I'm going to be shy. I'm going to be awkward. I'm just going to sit in the corner, pull out my phone, and act busy because I don't want nobody to bother me. I'm angry. Everyone's just pissing me off tonight. I don't even want to be here. My mom and dad made me come here. Or somebody pestered me to be here tonight. One of my leaders forced me to be here tonight. I don't even want to be here. See, thoughts like that are always going to pop up. There's negative thoughts. There's anxious thoughts. There's lustful thoughts. There's all kinds of different thoughts that will pop into your head. And God says those things are they're going to pop up, but it's your choice whether you want to dwell on them. You have a choice. And God's given me free will. And He gives us the right to choose what we will focus on. And there's two streams that we can focus on. We can focus on the stream of positive, or we can focus on the stream of negative. We can either choose to focus on, through our experience, our lives, our sinful ways, okay? Or we can focus on a better way, a more positive way, a way that is perfect, because God's perfect. So His way is the best way. But the truth is, we're so prideful as human beings, we just don't want to believe that God's way is perfect. That's actually what the truth is. We just don't want to believe that God's way is perfect. So sometimes we fight. It's my way. No, I think I got it. I got it figured out. No, I want to feel like this. This is how I want to be. You don't know me well enough. No, He does. He made you. Trust me. He knows you better than you know yourself. That's like you telling me that the iPhone knows itself better than Steve Jobs knows it. No, Steve Jobs knows it. He knows how he created it, what he created it for. And the truth is that we have a choice, and we can either choose to dwell on a negative way of thinking or a negative way of doing these things and keep pursuing those thoughts, or we can take what pops up in our mind and decide that we want to do something positive with that. See, the more we obey the voice of God, the easier it is to hear Him. Catch this. The more you obey God's voice, the easier it is to hear Him. The more we ignore it, the duller His voice becomes in our lives. And the truth is, listening to God's voice is counter who you are. It's counter, your personality, your body, the way you think. It's all of it. You know why? Because any of you really listening to your parents? Or listen to your parents if you live with them? Did you do everything they told you to do? Because I certainly didn't. Right? It's counter. We don't like doing things that we're told to do, that we're asked to do. But we have a choice to do the things that come to our thoughts, the impulses that are there. And we have a choice to either give into it for our way or choose to allow God to discipline it for us. And the Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 3 and 5, it says, we use God's mighty weapons, so God's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons, to knock down strongholds of human reasoning and to destroy false arguments. We destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God. We capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ. So we got to take our thoughts captive. We got to be able to be willing to capture those thoughts and put it under a place where God can work through that. Why? Because truthfully, you are what you believe. You are what you dwell on. You know how I know this? I'll give you a perfect example. All week, Maxine has absolutely bugged me for one thing and one thing only. This girl will say 7 or 8 times a day, yeah. Running around. I'm like, hey, Maxine, can you do something? Yeah. Maxine, you did a great job. Yeah. That's all I hear all day, every day. Now, I've never heard her say that ever in my life. Okay? I've heard her say a lot of things, right? Bad believe what, blah, 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 with sticking out the tongue. I've heard do a lot of crazy things, okay? This one was the most annoying that I've heard. And the truth is, she didn't learn it from herself. In fact, she didn't even know she was picking it up because it wasn't her that created it. It was this one, Steph Meadows, that created the problem. Because Steph Meadows introduced yeah all over the place for camp. And because Maxine spends 8 a.m. till 3:30 p.m. Monday to Friday for the past 7 weeks, and if Steph is going to do it, guess what is going to happen? The more you dwell on something, the faster you pick something up. The faster it becomes part of your life, you don't even recognize you're doing it anymore. So the thoughts you embrace drive your behavior. If you choose to think, and catch this, if you choose to think that you are a terrible person, that drives your behavior. You will be a terrible person. And you'll try to tell me, like, see, John, I'm just a terrible person. It's like, yeah, because you believe it. Because you dwell on it. It becomes who you are. If you choose to think of yourself as a criminal, because you're black or you're colored, you start to embody that eventually. The truth is, at some point you have to decide that you're not dwelling on the thoughts. You got to be willing to take the thoughts and submit it somewhere else. That's why I used to tell myself, John, like, yo, I'm colored, man. Ain't nobody going to take me seriously around here. No church is ever going to hire me because they ain't going to take me seriously. I'm from the hood. They're not going to take me seriously. None of the suburban churches will ever take me seriously. So why even bother? Why even try? And if I keep believing that, that's exactly how it's going to be for me. Because that's all I can expect until I change my thought life, until I change the attitude that comes with it. People who typically say, I can't help myself, are usually indicated that their emotions are so strong that they lose control right away. Oh, I can't help it, man. I just get angry. I just get blindly angry. I just see red all over. And that's true. Because if you wait till last minute to deal with lust, to deal with anger, to deal with self-pity, you'll lose the battle. You will. Because the emotional momentum will take you places you didn't intend to go. But that's why you got to take control of your thoughts. You got to capture your thoughts. It's a discipline. Every time somebody says, man, I'm just so angry, are you willing to capture your thoughts before it develops emotions? Before you're tied to it? I'm just not good enough, John. Again, are you willing to capture the thoughts when they come in and discipline them so you can develop a self-confidence inside of you? See, God has given you the ability to control your emotions by managing your thoughts. You can't directly access your emotions, but you can control your thought life. If you have a problem with anger, the solution is found in the way you think and how you think about it. And it's not just to grit your teeth and just say, I'm not going to get angry. I'm just going to stand here and I'm not going to get angry. That's not a solution. That'll never work. It's to capture the thoughts that drive you towards the emotion. It's recognizing what triggers you and disciplining yourself to know that that won't trigger your anger response. I'm a very, very naturally, I'm just an angry person. You know that because I'm just always on. I'm just hot all the time like this. So imagine if I get really angry, how much more violent that's going to be. And when I fight with Abby, in the beginning it was really bad because I'm just not a person that's going to give up in a fight. I'm going to say my piece, I'm going to get there. I want to get there. But I learned how to recognize that I didn't want to be angry, so I had to learn how to recognize what are the things that trigger an emotional response of anger. What is being said to me that drives me to a place where I just get angry? And I had to discipline myself to not get angry in those thoughts. If those thoughts ever came out, then I wasn't going to get there. I had to tell myself a different narrative of that. So one of the trigger ones that happens in our fights all the time that used to drive me berserk is when Abby would just say, well, why don't you just quit and give up then? Like when we get into a bad fight, she just says, well, why don't you just quit and leave and just go do your own thing? Because that goes against my fiber of who I am. I'm not a quitter. It's calling me out. So it drove me nuts when I used to hear that. But once I recognized that was the thing that triggered my anger, every time I heard that, I was willing to tell myself that that's not the truth. That she's not actually saying that. Because we've talked about it now. We've talked about, okay, this really drives me, it makes me angry. And then once I was able to talk and understand her side of it and understand why she even says something like that, well, the next time she says it, well, I know the truth behind that statement, which means now it doesn't have to drive me to an angry place. It allows me to not ride into my emotions. Even though I feel I'm about to tip into it, even if it's said to me, I know the truth behind that statement. I discipline the thoughts to not go into a place of anger. I discipline myself to say, like, yeah, I heard that. That came at me, but this is the truth. Because I heard it from Abby. I heard what she had to say about it. So even if she says it like this in the middle of a fight or in the middle of a moment, I know that's not the truth. Because how many of you have ever said anything out of anger that you didn't mean? I think every single person, right? That's the truth. That's a truth, that's a fact that we can all bank on. So if I can tell myself the truth, then I don't have to get into an angry place. Thoughts drive your emotions, and the thoughts and emotions drive your behavior. And really, your mind is kind of like a control tower, if you kind of want to look at it that way. And thoughts are really flowing in from all over the place. So you got a lot of external things that are flowing into your thought life. And your mind is really just a control tower that accesses all this information. You got stuff from your friends, you got family, you got things that you listen to, watch. All these things are external forces that are influencing your thought life. Spending time with God's word, praying, worship, all these are just trigger points that are always constantly influencing you. But at some point, you have to decide the input that you want in your life. Like a TV, you got to decide, what channel am I going to and what am I not going to? What shows am I watching that build me up? Because I promise you, 13 Reasons Why ain't building nobody up. I got through maybe half an episode before I'm like, yeah, this ain't for me. This ain't for me, because I already know my life, I know what I've been through, and this ain't going to build me up. So it's not a show I want to watch. It's not a show I need in my life. So when I set my mind on things that are visible, that's not visible to anyone, then all of a sudden it influences me directly, because people don't know my thoughts. People don't know your thoughts. So when you're always constantly changing the way you think, and when you're constantly allowing things to influence you, it affects your direct communication with somebody else, who you are with somebody else, how you operate. One day you come in really well, the next day you come in like trash. Right? What's wrong with you? How many times have you guys heard that before from somebody? Anybody heard that in your life? What's wrong with you? Right. Because we allow certain things to come into our lives and influences our thoughts, and it drives our behavior. And it becomes visible through our actions. How do you know that, John? How do you know that that's actually true? Well, very first story in the Bible, Adam and Eve, is exactly where it happened. God said, you got everything you could ever want. It's all here. I give it to you, free of charge, no questions asked, no strings. Just don't touch this tree right here. This one tree, one meager tree. Just listen to me. I created you. I'm just asking you, don't touch this one tree. Everything else, though, all yours. Go for it. Go nuts. Go crazy. Right? No restrictions, no nothing. Just this one tree. Just don't touch it. Don't touch the fruit. It's not for you. Everything else is free. It's free game. But see, Eve set her mind on that one thing. See, now we all want to believe that the devil, the enemy, made her do it. The devil didn't make her do nothing. You know why? The devil doesn't have control of your free will and your free choice. If God doesn't have it, and God created the devil certainly don't have it either. You give too much credit to him sometimes. We have access to our free will. We have access to our choice, just us alone. Not even God. Not even God manipulates our choices. But see, Eve focused her thoughts on that one tree. And she lingered on it a little too long. Kind of like when you're walking down the road, and I can only speak for the guys, I can't speak for the girls here on this one. Or you're driving, because I drive. And one girl just walks by, and you catch a glimpse of her. Right? And then you just kind of do one of these. And you linger a little too long on it. And all of a sudden your thoughts start going somewhere else. Your thought life starts to drive you into a different place. And that's what Eve did. She saw the tree and she lingered a little too long on that tree. And then the devil came in and just said like, man, doesn't that look good? Did God really say you couldn't touch it? Really think about what he said. Like, did he really say you can't touch it? Like, why would he not want you to have access to everything? To good and evil. And then Eve allowed herself to linger too long on something that she wasn't supposed to. That caused her to sin against God. And most times, we don't even just do it for ourselves. We bring other people along. Because Eve couldn't do it by herself. She had to say like, oh, Adam, come with me. Like, yo, come let's eat the fruit together. So we lead other people down the same path. All because Eve just happened to linger too long on something she wasn't supposed to. She couldn't discipline her thought life. And it influences her action. And guess what? We're all living in consequence of that now. So be careful what you focus on and what kind of attention you give. Because if you focus on what you don't have, like Eve, and you're not willing to be thankful for what you do have, you'll never be content. I know I've said this a few times over so many weeks, but we all tend to focus on what we don't have. We rarely focus on the good things that we do have because we want more. We want more of this, want more of that. See, King David did the same thing. So I know I said Eve, but King David was 50 years old. He had everything. Everything he could ever want. God gave him everything. And yet, he walks outside, he sees Bathsheba, and instead of doing one of these and walking right back in, he said, let me come back. Let me linger a little too long. And that influenced what? His actions. To the point where he committed murder, but not just committed murder by chance. He premeditated murder. Do you know in our law that the premeditation of murder holds the highest weight? Why? Why does premeditation hold higher weight than just manslaughter? Because it goes right back to your intentions. You chose to plan out a murder. It goes right back to the evil desires of our heart. So the weight of that transgression is huge. Versus somebody who maybe was driving and just hit somebody and killed somebody. They didn't mean to. It wasn't their intention. See, King David lingered so long on something, and he wanted something, that he was willing to kill somebody else's husband to get it. Why? Because he lingered on something too long. His thought life corrupted him and moved him down a path that he didn't want to move. So the second thing is, we got to replace our toxic lies and malicious thoughts with truth. See, the Bible says in Philippians 4, verse 8, it says, "Now, dear brothers and sisters, you and me, one final thing, fix your thoughts on what is true, what is honorable, what is right, what is pure, what is lovely, what is admirable. Think about these things that are excellent and worthy of praise." If you want to win the battle in your mind and the battle of your thoughts, you've got to replace the lies with the truth. You need to identify when you're starting to believe a lie. And you got to get off that train, and you got to be willing to surround yourself with truth. And it's not enough to just try and push the lie out and the toxic thoughts out. You got to replace it with God's truth, because the truth is something else will come in and replace it anyway. Another lie will come in and replace it. You got to be willing to replace it. But let me challenge you here real quick. Just imagine for 1 second if you were willing to do what the Bible just said. If you're willing to fix your thoughts on what is true, what is right, what is pure, what is honorable, and none of you can sit here and tell me, "Oh, John, I don't know what is pure and honorable." I know you know what's pure and honorable. I know you do, because you know the difference between right and wrong. You know the difference between good and evil. You can tell. It's really coming down to your choice. But imagine if you were willing to do that for yourself, to focus on what is pure and right. What kind of person would you be? Where would you be? How would you react? How would you act? And the truth is that comes with a little bit of reconstruction on the way you think and the desire to cultivate something that matters. It's kind of like this. Have any of your parents ever done remodeling in your home? Where's Noah? Noah's around here somewhere. Noah. There you are. Aren't you guys doing remodeling at your home, or recently did it? Kitchen, right? Okay. When you remodeled the kitchen, what did you do first? Sorry, what? One more time. You took out what? The old kitchen? Everything. Out. Gone. Out of the house. All of it. To the garbage. Everything had to go. Yes? What'd you do after? You just leave the empty space? You just sat around the kitchen doing nothing with the space? You and Arya playing games in the kitchen? What did your parents do with it? Redid with what? You redid everything in the kitchen. You brought back the old stuff back in? Oh, sorry, what? New stuff. Brand new stuff. Better than what you had before. So you can enjoy it. Boom. Thank you, Noah. Had to lead you there. You can't take out the old and not be willing to replace it with new. Because the old is old. It's gross. It's disgusting. You don't want to live with it anyway. You got to take out the junk and replace it with good, because you'll be willing to sit in the good. You'll be proud of the good. You never replace something with old. No one does it. So why would you do it to yourself? Why treat yourself less? If a kitchen is worth something new, what says that more about you? Don't you deserve the best? Shouldn't you deserve the best? Because I think that's how God sees you. And the third and my last point is we got to refocus on the right perspective. So we got to recognize that the toxic thoughts that are coming, be willing to replace it with truth. And then we got to reorient ourselves, refocus ourselves on the right perspective. So what does that mean? We got to be willing to have an eternal perspective in mind. You can either choose to see the world around you with an earthly perspective, the way it is today, this is how it's always going to be, or be willing to look at it with a little bit of eternal perspective. Something beyond just what's happening right here, right now. Because the truth is, this world is kind of not fun all the time. I mean, the last year and a half should tell you that, right? Kind of a little hopeless. But if you're only living for right here, right now, it's always going to be hopeless. There's always going to be something. If you don't believe me, read a history book. You telling me that a war has never existed in our world? You think that that won't come still? This is our world has always been a dark place. But if we have an eternal perspective in mind, if we're willing to believe what God says about us and what He's calling us to past this, then all of a sudden it helps us refocus our thoughts. See, Paul was able to choose joy because he maintained an eternal perspective. In Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 to 6, he says, "Always be full of joy in the Lord. And I say it again, rejoice. Let everyone see that you are considerate in all you do. Remember, the Lord is coming soon. And don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which supersedes or exceeds anything you can understand. And that His peace will guard your heart and minds as you live in Christ Jesus." See, your thoughts cultivate your desire. You are cultivating something in the garden of your heart, mind, thoughts, everything. You're cultivating something there. So what kind of seeds are you planting? What kind of water are you watering it with? What kind of sunlight are you giving it? You got to be willing to have a perspective that is beyond just what's happening right here, right now. Because otherwise you're always going to start believing the lies that are out there. See, the person who feeds themselves with self-pity is going to be accustomed to the pattern of thinking that they're not worth anything. The person who believes that they're loved, that they are called, that they deserve it, are going to live up in the confidence that God has for them. They're not just going to see somebody that says like, "Man, you suck." They're going to be like, "I'm loved." You might think I suck. Y'all might think I'm too harsh and rude and all up in your face and a troll. But I know I'm loved. I know I'm cared for. I know I care about people. Because these are the things that I put into my heart with God's help. I take all the negative things and submit it unto God's truth and allow Him to define who I am. Because He says, "You are a wonderful thing, John. I made you exactly you." People see a troll. I see somebody that won't give up on a single person. People see that you're hard and stubborn. I see somebody that's got vision and passion that won't quit when the first sign of trouble comes. People see that you're hated by most people, but I see a person that I've made that just will never quit on a single person. Now, that sounds like I'm bragging on myself, but I'm really just bragging on who God's made me to be. And if you're willing to do that for yourself, man, you're going to change your world. You're going to change your schools. You're going to change your families. You're going to change everything you touch out there. But what do you believe about yourself? What kind of thoughts are you capturing in your mind? How are you combating them? How are you willing to submit that under God? Now invite the team to come up. But are you willing to allow God to come in to your thought life? Are you willing to submit your thoughts under who He is? Because the truth is, we believe a lot of things about ourselves. And generally, most of the time, we tend to believe the negative things about who we are. We tend to let other people define us for who we are. See, I walk into any neighborhood in this city, out of the city, don't matter, exactly as I am. I don't pretend to be anything other than myself. I don't go to the suburbs and pretend to be like the suburbs. I'm just me. Because the truth is, God made me me. I don't have to be embarrassed of that. I don't have to pull myself back to make other people feel like they need to welcome me in. Because the truth is, if I'm just myself, people will respect me and love me for it. I don't have to pretend to be something so that people will like me. I got to be me. And the truth is, we're all out here searching for some sort of identity. We need to find ourselves in something. And then we start to believe these lies about who we are. We start to tell ourselves, man, if I dress this way, if I act this way, if I talk this way, if I do this way. See, that was one of the things when I was in America I refused to do. I refused to let anybody change me while I was there. I refused to let them change the way I talk, the way I engage with people. In fact, I refused to let them change the way I dress. They wanted me to wear checkered shirts, no hats ever, okay? No facial hair, slicked hair, no sneakers. They want to change everything about me. Most days you don't see me without a hat, do you? If you see me a lot of times. Very rarely am I without a snapback. Because I enjoy wearing them. It's who I am. It's part of who I am. And I got to trust to God that He's made me for me, and I had to be willing to dispel the lies that kept telling me, John, you have to change everything about you to fit in here so that they'll respect you and accept you. But all I was doing was changing the exterior. That's all I was doing, to please people. And if I did that, it would create in my self-worth, because all of a sudden people only would care about the exterior and wouldn't care about me as a human being. And the enemy would start to influence my thoughts like he did with Eve. Like, see, they don't care about you. They only care about the way you look and the way you talk. And if you do it their way, then they'll care about you. Otherwise, they don't care about you, John. But I had to believe the truth, that God loved me and He made me. He created this desire in me. He created the passions that I have. He created the things that I love. He created me stubborn and strong for the things that I really am passionate about. So where are your thoughts at? How do you think about yourself? Are your thoughts exclusively negative, toxic? Are you willing to think positively about yourself? Are you willing to think positively enough to believe that God made you on purpose, for purpose? That you're not here by accident? That you weren't just some random creation? That you're not just a product of your parents deciding that they just want to have a kid? Or if you don't live with your parents, that you're just a product that's here? Or are you willing to believe that God actually wanted you here, right now, on this planet with purpose, to make a difference to the circles of influences that you have? I'm willing to believe that for every single one of you, for even the ones I don't know. But are you willing to believe that for yourself? Because like I said, it's free choice. It's your choice, not mine. I very much believe that for myself, which is why I go out living on fire every day with purpose. No holds barred, no strings attached. I do it full on with God. But it requires that I have to every day take every negative thought in my head and put that under God and discipline it. And fire it truth. When I kick it out, I remodel my home every morning. I remodel my thought process every day. I deconstruct all the negative things that I believe about myself, that are being told about me. I have to take it out, throw it out in the dump, and then I got to rebuild new things. God loves me. Man, He made me wonderful. I am His child. He calls me priceless. He put this in me. He put the desire. I have kids. I got a wife that loves me. I got students that respect me. I got leaders that trust me. I got to keep building those things inside of me with God's help. Then I have to be willing to step out and say, I'm called, I'm qualified, and I can do this with God's help. Every day, the enemy loves to remind me that I have zero ability to run the business that I run. Which means that any day, the enemy loves to tell me that it's going to disappear. Like, at some point, he's just like, bro, they're going to know you're a fraud. Like, they're going to know you don't know what you're talking about. That you have no idea what you're doing. Like, all it takes is one misstep and it's all over. Like, your whole livelihood is gone. Everything's gone. And that's every day the enemy's whispering that into my mind to influence that thought process that I believe about myself from time to time. But every day I got to take that thought and say, I don't have the skills, I don't have the education, I don't have the network, I don't have, in fact, the polish that's out there. I don't look like, TD Bank CEO that's got all this posh money and whatever and living this grand lifestyle. I don't look like none of that. But I know I'm far more valuable than him, or at least as valuable as him, because God's called me beyond just what I believe about myself. And he said, John, I put this enterprise in front of you. I gave you this dream. I gave you this idea. I built it in the middle of a pandemic for you. I brought clients, revenue. I brought people from all over the country, outside your country, to you because I trust you and I built those things inside of you. I know you can take care of their businesses. Even though you feel unqualified, I built you to be qualified. And when I take all those things and submit it unto God, then all of a sudden I get to walk in what God has called me to walk into. I get to tap into veins that God has put right in front of me, and I get to walk right into it. And God's putting you in those places too. But are you willing to capture your thoughts? Are you willing to discipline your thoughts under who God's called you to be? Are you willing to say, like, you know what? I've been thinking about this for too long. I've been thinking this way for too long. Can I use you for a second? Yes, you. You believe that you don't deserve sleep, that you can't get that sleep. I want to challenge you that that's a thought that you've been holding on to for too long. You have to be able to say, hey, you know what? I deserve it. God's given me creativity, God's given me everything, but I deserve rest to pursue the things that God's put on my heart. The things that I can't worry about, I'll put it on Him because it's not mine to worry about. But I deserve rest because God's called me to a place of rest. And I deserve it. My body deserves it. My mind deserves it. So I can be the best version of myself the next day. But somewhere our thoughts lie to us and tell us that you don't deserve it because you haven't worked hard enough. You haven't done enough to get there. But God's saying that, Vaughn, I'm for you, not against you. I'm more than a conqueror in that area. So what the enemy is trying to use to destroy you, I want to take it, break what the enemy has, rebuild it, and put something powerful inside of you and lay you out there to tackle it. But are you willing to believe that God has that? And when to let go of that control. And that's what our thoughts don't let us do when we're not willing to submit that under God. And I apologize for using you, and I'm sorry if that was too personal. But that's what I just felt that right now in my spirit to share that with you. And just like that, every single one of you, I know every single one of you has something that you believe about yourself, that you don't deserve, that you're not it, you're not worth it. I'm not attractive enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not talented enough, I can't do this, I can't do that. Boy, are you willing to trust a God that made you way more than what you think about yourself. And if you're willing to step into that playing field, that spot that God has you, I don't even want to know what kind of damage you do in this world and for the kingdom. But that's the game that the enemy plays with us. He wants to isolate us, get you to believe certain things about yourself that you don't deserve. And God's saying, man, I created you. You deserve it all. You're my kids. You deserve it all. So much so that you deserve it all that I was willing to send my son who was perfect to die for you when you didn't deserve it all. That's how much you deserve it all. That's how much God loves you. That's how much He's willing to go for you. That's how every day He goes to bat for you like that. Knowing who you are, knowing how terrible you can be. He still said, I love you, you deserve it all from me. That's the kind of Father we have. So my challenge to you is, are you willing to use the gift of free will and believe the truth about yourself? I so desperately want you to believe it, but I can't make you do it, just like God won't make you do it. Even though He has every power to do it, He just won't do it. And I'm thankful I'm not God, because I'd make you all do it. I'd make you all believe the good things about you. But God's so good, He won't do it. He won't interfere. He wants you to believe it. He wants you to make the choice. good enough in whatever area. I can feel it right now. I can feel all of you processing the areas that you know you're not good enough in, or you think that you're not good enough in. Are you willing to submit that under God? Are you willing to submit that thought under Him and allow Him to call you up out of that place? That's my challenge to you. Because I promise you, if you do that, you're going to see a whole new you. You're going to experience a whole new you. You're going to feel like you're untouchable. I wake up every morning feeling I'm untouchable with God's help. Now, without His help, I'm absolutely trash. But with Him, I'm absolutely untouchable. Because I believe what He says in His Word. If God is for me, who's against me? Who can be against me? Nothing. No one can be against me. Nobody. Even if I run on 2 hours sleep for the past 2 weeks because I have a new kid now, and that's just the way it is. When you have two kids and one's a baby and one's a toddler, they don't balance their schedules. And on 2 hours sleep every day, I'm asking God, I'm like, without you, I suck, God. I'm nobody. I got no energy. I got nothing left. I'm spent. But you've called me. But you say that I am more than a conqueror for those who believe in Christ Jesus. And I believe that I got something with your help. So God, infuse me with your power. I believe what you say about me. And I leave walking away saying I'm untouchable. Tiredness has no hold on me. Sickness has no hold on me. Because I'm untouchable with God's help. Now, I'm not trying to claim some weird supernatural thing here. I'm just saying that I'm willing to submit my thoughts under Him and acting according to where God has me. So that's my challenge to you. As these guys lead us, and as we spend some time here, a few minutes in reflection, I want you to be willing to open up the lab in your heart and say, hey, what are the areas that I've been neglecting in my life? What are the areas that I'm willing to believe less than for myself? And are you willing to tear that down and allow God to come in and rebuild that?